My favorite variance is power right?
Sure. We're right at 7 o'clock if you're ready to get started.
Okay. This is Loretto Coward participating by telephone, and I called the meeting to order. Would Mr. Hoffman call the roll, please?
Beverly Hood.
Here.
Dave Robinson.
Yeah.
Deb Terrell said she wasn't going to be able to make it this evening. Chip Roram.
Here.
Barry McCracken.
Here.
Arthur Lax. Victor Navarez.
Here.
Loretta Cowing.
Yes.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I have been under the weather, and so I thought it was prudent to stay home and participate by phone. But that will make it difficult for me to chair the meeting. Does anyone volunteer to be acting chairman or to nominate somebody else to do that this evening?
Chip is getting pointed at here.
I'll do it in private, but let's coach.
Okay, we have every confidence in you. Thank you.
Thank you. And any coaching you can offer me, Loretta, I would be grateful.
I'm sure you'll do fine. Thank you.
All right. Are there any amendments to the minutes from the January 26th meeting? So, a motion to approve the minutes? Second.
You can just do voice roll. Keep going.
Voice vote.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
They are approved.
Mike, do you have any communications?
No, we do not.
City council action?
Yes, so the zoning text amendment to incorporate the design guidelines in the site plan review process, we just had a ordinance committee meeting this evening. The ordinance committee reviewed it, recommended moving that on to city council. So that should be on, I think, the next city council agenda for adoption. The parcel alley vacation, I don't know what's happening there. I've tried to contact Adam to see what he wants to do. He has not responded to my last couple emails. So nothing is happening on that one right now. The conditional use for a carry-out and delivery business at 880 West Station Street was also approved. The city council added one additional condition. That was to require him to fix up the facade on the adjacent property. We didn't include it, the property to the east. Since it's the same owner, it really looks like the same building facade. The council thought that was important. Could not disagree at all with that. It does make sense to at least put some windows or something in there so it doesn't look burnt out. So with that change, they recommend they adopted an ordinance approving that conditional use. And then we had the conditional use for the microbrewery, which is probably more nano brewery if you think about the actual definitions of those things. But City Council recommended adoption and approval of that ordinance as well. So that one is in place. In fact, there was a nice article in the newspaper about that the other day, if anybody saw that. So pretty exciting.
Okay. Any unfinished business?
No, sir.
Okay. New business? Case number PD 2021-1-1, a request for major variance to allow for the reestablishment of a non-conforming use, 2-unit building in an R1 district at 276-278 West Hickory.
Hello.
So Chip, are you formally opening the public hearing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for bearing with me.
Sure.
Okay, so normally the petitioner presents their case and explains what they're proposing and why. So if you would be so kind as to raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so when you come to the microphone, state your name and then proceed.
Okay, my name is Paula Espinoza. I am a personal secretary and property manager for Mr. Ruben Lopez. And this is Mr. Lopez. Do you want me to continue?
I do want you to continue.
Well, we are here today because Mr. Lopez purchased a property that is 276-278 West Hickory back in July of 2020. At which time Mr. Lopez purchased the property, he thought that he was purchasing a 2-unit building. When Mr. Lopez then wanted a permit to do work on the building to bring it up to code, we were informed by code enforcement that we could not do that, that it had to be converted back to a single-family home. Well, the property has 2 existing addresses, 2 separate entrances, and I do have pictures, if you guys would like to see them. Oh, you see them? Okay, so it has 2 separate addresses, 2 separate front entrances and back entrances. It also has a meter box for 2 separate meters for electric, 2 separate gas meters. It's a complete 2-unit building that someone, prior to Mr. Lopez's purchase, made into a 2-unit building. So when Mr. Lopez purchased the property, he's thinking he's getting a 2-unit building for a rental property as he is an investor. He also owns, on that side of the street, almost that entire block. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but Mr. Lopez owns all of the property, which was his biggest interest in the building. So once he gets the building, well, then he gets his big bomb dropped on him that he's got to convert it back to a single-family home. Mr. Lopez, it would cost more money to do that than to keep it as is. After the purchase of the building, especially during COVID, Mr. Lopez has had some financial hardships. So he's not really able to do that. I mean, he could, but it would be quite costly. Something that he's not really a good idea for him financially. So that's why we're here. Anything I missed?
Probably not.
Okay.
The questions from George?
Yes. Did you say that it was originally a single-family house?
Well, I'm assuming that it was, according to Kankakee County Code Enforcement, it was in the past, and then some unknown person made it into a 2-unit, and it even has 2 physical addresses. 2 meters, 2 separate meters, 2 separate hot water heaters, 2 separate furnaces, separate bathrooms, separate kitchens, separate entrance, everything. But now this wasn't on Mr. Lopez, as he took possession of the property in July of 2020. It was done prior to his purchase.
I have a question. So when he purchased this property, was he aware that it was a 2-unit, or he was aware that it was a single-family home?
According to Speckman Realty, who sold Mr. Lopez the property, they never told him any different. As viewing the building, you view the building as a 2-unit.
She told me it was 2 units.
She told him it was 2 units, as he says.
Is it in the contract that she states it is a 2-unit?
Yeah, it was, but I don't know what I did with the paperwork.
I have the deed and everything here, but I don't have anything from Speckman Realty whatsoever.
I've got that on what she shows that zoning is multifamily.
It has what, sir?
Zoning, multifamily.
Multifamily zoning.
Yeah, that's what they're showing. They're, and I'm a realtor, so I'll say this. A lot of people make assumptions. Like we had one that was like an 8-unit, it was on R1. Well, you would assume that it was built correctly and it was zoned properly, but sometimes they're just not. But they do have the zoning multifamily.
So it was zoned for multifamily, Ruben.
No.
Oh, it's not zoned for,
That's what they said.
oh, right,
But it's disclosed in here.
right.
Not correct information out
Exactly the point that Mr. Lopez is making. As far as his purchase, he was unaware that it wasn't a 2-unit. He thought he was purchasing a 2-unit building.
I believe in there, like 2 houses down, right next yard is mine too. I believe in there for 20 years, and always has been a 2 apartments. I don't know when it was converted to 2 units, but probably had to be more than 20 years. Because I live in there for 20 years.
I called the assessor's office also, and they went back in their records, and for their records and everything, they couldn't find it otherwise. So they said to call the, code, but I didn't have a chance to do that, before the meeting.
So I did talk to Code, at least email back and forth with Code, and they said they didn't know exactly how far it went back, but it's been a 2-unit for a really long time until it became vacant, and it became vacant for over a year, so that's why we're here, because it lost its legal non-conforming status because it didn't continue to have it rented for a period of time.
Would there be any records in coding? Did somebody pull a permit to do some work in that property prior to a couple years back?
There should be. The records aren't that good, so I can't promise you that there's a record of when it was.
The reason I'm
converted.
asking is if he went to apply for a permit and they're denying it because it's a residential and wanting to convert it back, and somebody pulled some permits when it was a 2-unit, then.
All I know is that when I spoke to Mr. Leopard from the Kankakee County Enforcement Office, he just simply told me, Paula, we're sorry, I can't issue any permits for a 2-unit building. I can give you a permit for a single-family home. Because on the permits, when I filled the paperwork out, it specifically asked those things. Is it 2-unit? Is it single-family? When he seen that I had marked that it was a 2-unit, he said, I can't issue you any type of work permits. I said, well, how in the world can Mr. Lopez bring the building up to code? He said, well, and that's how I came around to getting Mr. Hoffman's name and number and got to this point. But as far as Mr. Leopard told me, he said that the building's been that way for quite some time. So, he didn't give me any other information as far as that, and just simply said he can't give me any work permits for a 2-unit building. So.
Do we have a lot size declared?
50 by 84.5 is what the assessor's card has.
Yeah, 4,239 square feet, so it's small.
How big is the house?
Well, what we're proposing to do here is continue it as a legal non-conforming use. So if we're doing that, we don't have to worry about the lot size issue. If we were rezoning it, then we'd have to be talking about that issue. Loretta Cowing just asked, how big is the house?
How big is the house? Okay, I can give you that information here. It was a question I wasn't expected to be asked. I do apologize.
No problem.
May I use this?
And while you're looking for that, what about parking spaces? If it's 2 units,
Yeah.
how much parking space?
Yeah, they should have 4 spaces. There is space off of the alley to have parking. I don't know, since it was covered in snow, I don't know how many spaces are actually back there, but I'm pretty sure there's room for 4 cars off of the alley.
There is a very large lot there, a concrete slab off the side of the alley there. In the portion, the whole corner of that yard is a big concrete slab. Where a garage may have been prior, I'm not real sure.
Also, front of the house, park for at least 2 to 3 cars right front of the house too.
And the parking has to be off the street.
Okay.
And the garage slab, remember the garage garage there, that's probably 2, so you need an additional 2 to comply.
Well, it's a big lot. It'll fit 4 cars in the back. Yeah.
You know, I don't think I have the size of the home with me.
I think you got the copy right there, I think. Wait, don't.
It doesn't have square footage. Yeah, I don't think that I have that information with me.
Do you have a slide survey?
I do not. Nope, I don't think that I have that
It's
information.
not in a deed, is it?
Nope, it's not in there. I thought that it might be, but it is not. And I thought I had all my ducks in a row. No, sir, I don't have it.
They're both 2-bedroom, 1-bath units, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they're very big bedrooms too.
Large
They're like
bedrooms.
14 by 14s.
Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah. And big living room, probably it's like 20 by 18.
Very large kitchens also. They're very nice units. And to view the units, I mean, any person in the world that would walk in there would clearly see that I would have never even thought that it was ever one house. To walk in, it looks like it's always been a 2-unit building. So,
Has the information that Casa Grande recommended or proposed been shared with the applicants?
I mentioned to them in an email that the fire department wanted to see some improvements to the fire alarms. But let me go ahead and read that for the record, just so everybody understands it. So this is a memo, email to me from Captain Mike Casagrande of the Kankakee Fire Department. He says that the new owner should bring the property up to the current codes, which include smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. The smoke alarms should be interconnected. This can be achieved through a hardwire system or a 10-year battery Wi-Fi connection system. Smoke alarms must be installed on every level, within 15 feet of sleeping areas and in every bedroom. Carbon monoxide alarms must be on every level and within 15 feet of sleeping areas. These actions will improve the life safety of the residents and improve our property values in Kankakee. It's pretty much in code anyway, but just to be clear that we want you to do that, and I think you want to do that probably for the
yes,
safety of your
absolutely.
tenants as well.
absolutely.
I got a question, Bill. Why do they have to have hardwire?
He says hardwired or 10-year batteries.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be hardwired.
No, there's no ones that are 10-year or more battery life guaranteed.
Okay.
So
Yes,
it's either or.
okay.
Oh, Wi-Fi connection system.
Right. So Chip, if I might summarize my reports, I think.
Yes, please.
So we reviewed it. This is actually a little unusual, where you've got a provision in your code that you can continue and reestablish a legal non-conforming use, but it's in the code. Basically, I think it's for situations like this where it kind of is a financial hardship on these folks. I completely understand. If I was looking at the property, it does look like a 2-unit building. In fact, there are multiple 2-unit buildings in this area that are also legal non-conforming buildings, but you know, it is common in this area. If you look at your criteria in your code, I mean, it looks at the context of the area. The context here is you do have several 2 units in the area. It is highly walkable to Jewel and other services in the immediate area. You know, it's a part of our riverfront TIF area where we're actually looking to try to add some more people to the area. So if there's a location that sort of makes sense, I mean, I wish the lot size was bigger, honestly, Chip, but it's not. So it is what it is. So if you decide to approve this, you're approving it as reestablishing that legal non-conforming status, which will remain there until, you know, if you had a fire that destroyed that building by more than 60%, you would lose that. Outside of that, you would keep it as long as that structure is sound and you keep the structure in good condition. So given the unique situation that we're talking about here and the location and the surrounding properties, staff is supportive of this major variance with the conditions that you provide at least 4 on-site parking spaces on the property, and that you bring the building up to code and meet those recommendations from the fire department.
Okay.
Regarding the sale of the building in the future, if they choose to sell the building, what is the status of the property at the point?
It's still legal non-conforming.
Okay. Sometimes I worry that you couldn't sell it as a 2-unit. It was only good for your ownership, so thank you.
Yeah.
Like it's sold as a 2-unit, but the financing and the same issue was possibly was financing and possibly was insurance. Because if the underwriter might say, hey, if it burns down, it's got to be built back as a house.
Right.
So they may not provide a loan for somebody. We've run into that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I get calls at least every other week on that subject. And, I mean, ultimately, you could think about rezoning it to R2, but because of the lot size issue, I figured this was the quickest and easiest way for them to move on, and we could deal with the rezoning later.
Sure. Do we have any comments from the audience?
That's my husband. Julio, ¿tú necesito hablar? No. Okay, he doesn't have anything to say. Yeah.
Are we ready to make a motion?
All right, I'm trying to make a motion. As it relates to case number PB 2021-1-1, a request for major variance to allow for the reestablishment of a non-conforming use 2-unit in an R1 district at 276 and 278 West Hickory. We propose that a major variance appears appropriate and meet the standard for a major variance as outlined in section 12.03.c of the zoning ordinance. We recommend approval of the proposed variance with the following conditions. 1, the owner provides 4 on-site parking spaces, 2 per dwelling unit, for the city's zoning ordinance. And 2, the owner works with the city to make the necessary updates to the building that brings the property up to code.
Would you like to reference the commentary from our planner? That's stipulations.
He did. The conditions he mentioned are the ones that are in our staff report.
Very good, very good. Staff, thank you.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Barnes.
You need to move it. Yeah, I'll second it.
Ready for the vote? Dave Robinson.
Yes.
Victor Navarez.
Yes.
Barry McCracken.
Yes.
Chip Roram.
Yes.
Beverly Hood.
Yes.
Loretta Cowing.
Yes.
Your major variance is granted.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Sure.
How soon can I go to code enforcement to get those permits?
I will email code in the morning or maybe tonight and let them know that this was approved, and they should be good to go tomorrow, as far as I'm
Thank you,
concerned.
Mr. Hoffman, and thank you,
You're welcome.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it very much.
Bye-bye.
Are there any further actions that we need to take?
There are not. You will have a meeting next week. A couple of things. Thank you. Coming in the works, but nothing else for now.
Do I need to call for adjournment?
You should ask for a motion to adjourn, yes.
Wait, can I have a motion to adjourn? Victor, all right.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Approved.
Off the record, while meeting is adjourned, what's the position of the truck stop? What's,
Review efforts.
wait, what's that?